Welcome to Brainstorms and Bottom Lines. This is the show for leaders, entrepreneurs, and high performers who know that success isn't just about the numbers. It's about your mindset, your health, and your ability to think under pressure. From strategy and leadership to resilience, recovery, and navigating life's toughest challenges. It's time to get to work with your host, award-winning business coach, author, and three-time brain tumor survivor, Rick Franzo.
Thank you and welcome to Brainstorms and Bottom Lines. My pleasure today is to introduce two of the best IT company guys that I know, probably the only IT companies guys I know. Carmine Corridore, the CEO of Underdog Cyber Defense. I wrote that down so that I got it right. Here in the Poconos, Pennsylvania, and on the other side of the state, Steve Grabowski, and he is the CEO of Soho Integrations, and that is in the greater Pittsburgh area and Eastern Ohio. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, good to be here.
Steve, is it nice to be here?
Yes, wonderful to be here.
Excellent, good. So let's talk cybersecurity. What do you think is the biggest cybersecurity challenges that business face today? And I'll start with you, Carmine. What's the biggest threat?
I think the biggest threat is that many just don't think that they can be hacked or they have anything to be hacked or that they're important enough for a cyber criminal.
So if somebody's a small business like, solopreneur, and they've got some stuff on their computer, they don't think that they're big enough to be hacked or have some sort of, when they ask for money, what is that called?
Ransomware.
Yeah, they're not big enough for that.
Yeah, what I normally hear, and I'm sure Steve can attest to this, is that they usually say we don't think we're important enough, or we don't have anything that the cyber criminals want.
Interesting. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I would agree 100% with that. People let their guards down. Where I live, we're not right in a city. So they're thinking about it in more of a traditional sense. Well, we're not on Main Street. We're not, down in Pittsburgh or New York City. We're out in the country. I have several clients that are so far in the country, they have a hard time even getting high-speed internet. So they think because of that they're kind of secure. And the reality is once you connect online, you're on Main Street, USA. You're right on the main corner, which is its advantage, but it's also that double-edged sword. So, they think that, and their guard is down. The same people that might be able to leave their house unlocked and go to the store and go to the office all day and come back and their house is still unlocked and safe. You can't really do that online.
So almost if I go to the post office and I go in there to mail a package and I leave my car running and I come out and then I'm surprised that somebody actually jacked my car, that's what we're talking about here. Is even though I'm in a very low population area, it's not unheard of. And so this isn't Mayberry is what I like to say. And so we don't leave our doors unlocked at night. We have cameras. Everybody has cameras and things like that to record. And so everybody is a potential victim of this. Can be. It's a threat to everyone, right, guys?
Yes. Yeah. And we're all connected, now with everything online, we're all connected. So, it makes it that much more important to protect each other by protecting ourselves.
Ooh, I think, the editors could make that the podcast quote. I like that. Very good. Thank you. So what industries you guys see that are most affected, if there is any that are most affected in business? Is it manufacturing? Is it healthcare? Is it retail? What do you guys think? I've seen it all in the news. I know nothing about computers.
Well, for me, at one of the industries that we deal with the most, if you want to call it an industry, is municipalities, and they are absolutely at risk, especially with what's going on today in the Mideast and all that stuff. You got state sponsored. You've always had state sponsored cybercrime, but it's just ramped up over the last couple of months for sure.
And what countries do you think that it's most likely coming from? If you could track it, and I imagine that you can, where a lot of this is coming from.
Well, I mean, I think North Korea and China have always been on the top there. actually just recently, probably about a month ago, all my municipality clients got a letter from, I forget the organization, but whatever the organization is that oversees them, basically warning them of these cyber threats coming from like Iran and, whatever states are, connected to them.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Scary, but
It
interesting.
is.
What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, every time that we see like a global event, whether it's economic or like this a little bit more than economic, there's always more pressure. Like in the 2008 housing crisis, every time there's something like that, you have more people out there, more people that are out of work, and they're trying to survive, they're trying to live. And when you look at some of these countries where the hacks are coming from, you know, a decent hack of even $30,000 is more than they would make in years in a lot of those areas. So it's something that they're trying. And now with the advent of AI, we're not seeing like the old school spam that, has all the typos and strange URLs. I mean, these look absolutely legit. And it's really hard. I look through the logs and I'll see a lot of stuff from several different countries, right? And some might be coming direct, but the reality is we can't even block based on country anymore because they have hijacked so much infrastructure in our own country and our own Internet of Things, our cable modems, our cameras, that we don't really know where they're coming from without doing a big forensic dive, which we don't do that in house. But like Carmen said, I mean, we see it from other industry professionals. So, it's all over, and all those other countries are really struggling, and they're struggling right now financially. So they're going to reach out and do what they need to do to survive and feed their family. It's an industry like any other.
Wow, never really thought of it that way. So, I mean, that really leads in perfectly into the evolving threat landscape that we're seeing today. So, let's stick with you, Steve, for a second. What cyber threats concern you the most right now? Anything specific?
If all of them is specific enough, then yes. No, I'd say probably AI. And I hate hearing AI all day long. It's kind of annoying at this point, but I think that it's a danger on both sides, right? It's a danger because we have, what we used to term, and maybe they still call them script kiddies, right? They would just download things that, go out and scan networks, do things. They're all kind of scripted, and you have maybe 2 or 3 real developers of that. And then you have other people just using those tools because they're released on the dark web, things like that. But with AI, it's the same tools that we're using in-house. It's the same tools that developers of Google are using. So they're able to then up their skill set at the same time, right? So social engineering, the language barrier is becoming less, plus their programming skills are coming up. And then in-house, we have a lot of people that are focusing on AI and vibe coding and using all these tools that they don't even understand. I mean, a lot of people, the developers of this technology, when the technology goes haywire and it starts hallucinating these facts, they're not quite sure where it comes from. I believe that it is, I don't think it's Claude. I think that it is ChatGPT that they had to not talking about ogres. Like there's strict, guardrails in there to not talk about some of those kind of things. Like, why is it coming up with that? So when we're using that in our enterprise and people are saying, putting mandates that, oh, you need to use this, it could be a problem from inside as well. So is it a Trojan horse at the same time? And then are people really reviewing it and looking over it after? Right? It's great. You can create a lot of bulk data, a lot of bulk content, a lot of bulk programming, but is anyone going back to review the code? And I think that to me, it's, absolutely password, 2FA, all those kind of things are certainly still concerns, end user training, but that the double-edged sword of the tool that we use could be the thing that hurts us the most is scary. And I think that people need to be cautious about becoming too complacent with that technology.
Interesting. How about you, Carmine? Thank you for that, Steve. What threats or specific threat concerns you the most?
Yeah, I do agree with Steve on the AI, excuse me, from the AI side of, especially around governance and vibe coding. Like people are building things without knowing how to build them, and using AI without actually having the proper, governance in place, restrictions on what to give it, how to, and how to feed it and all that stuff. But really, a couple of weeks ago, in relationship to what I mentioned about the state-sponsored, attacks and all that stuff, there's a new type of virus out there that goes beyond ransomware, and I forget what its official name is, but basically it's like a wiping virus. Like it just like you download this thing, and instead of ransoming your data for money, it just goes out and wipes your entire computer. And the only reason why they're doing it is just to interrupt business. It's like they have no other reason for doing it than just to disrupt the businesses in the United States. That's its strict uh, uh, mandate, I guess, and that worries me. For businesses that don't have proper backup in place and proper protection in place.
Yeah.
So that, if it worries you guys, it worries me, right? So you don't hear about this. I'm hearing about this for the first time, but I've heard about hantavirus. I've heard about the resurgence of Ebola, and whatever other diseases that are out there that, scare the holy bejesus out of everybody. So, this probably doesn't get the press that it deserves for sure. So how do you protect someone's business? How is it that you do that? We'll start with you, Carmine. What are things that you guys, and Steve, jump in, how do we protect the businesses? How would you protect my business? How do you protect the small and even the large businesses that both of you have as clients? And before we even get into that, how many years do you have in doing this, Carmine, in the IT, managed services, cybersecurity? How many years you been doing this?
So in total, I've been doing this for probably about 35 years, since like 92. It morphed into, networking, which morphed into, cybersecurity. My business, Underdog Cyber Defense, has been around since 2018, so about 8 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, and so and that's what we focused on, because around that time is when all this started, going bad, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it went sideways for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. How many years you been doing this, Steve?
About 32 years. My business, I started in 2008, but I've been doing this ever since dial-up. My first job was in dial-up IT support, or at an ISP. And what I think is funny about the conversation is these are all, it's just an evolution of what was there to begin with.
Yep.
The faster we get it, as businesses are growing and learning computers and learning how to leverage them, the hackers have been doing that at the same time. I mean, they have a much, it's like organized crime. It's just online.
Another soundbite. Look at this, Carmine. You better come up with one, man. Steve is killing it. Another one. Another nugget from Steve Grabowski. So, Carmine, how do you protect businesses? What do you guys do specifically at Underdog to gird them, build that wall of protection against cyber villains?
Well, really, it actually first starts with education. First, educating the client as to why they need it in the first place, but also guiding them through the processes. So, whenever we onboard a new client, there's a series of tools and policies and things that we put in place, and we explain to the client as to what they do and why they need them to protect them. But then ongoing, it's just more of us being educated. As I mentioned to you about that new virus that's out, I get tons and tons of emails in my inbox from all these continuous education bodies of that provide all this information. Like I get alerts all the time, whether they're medium alerts, high vulnerabilities. I share it with the team so that everybody's on the same page. Every morning when I'm looking, I get email alerts of like the latest viruses that are out there. I make sure that the team is aware of it, and so we're staying one step ahead, or we're trying to stay one step ahead. If we know it's something that our clients have, we make sure that it's patched, or it's it's got some sort of protection in place.
against things that you don't even, they're not tangible, right? Until they become tangible.
Yeah, half the stuff that we do, or I would say more than half the stuff we do is not reactive. It's all proactive stuff. One of my team members, he's all day, he just writes scripts to take care of these vulnerabilities. We have projects in place where we're upgrading the protection, not because the client asked us to, but because we know there's something better out there. So yeah, we're always doing stuff.
Wow. So as they evolve, so were you, and vice versa.
You have to these days.
That's crazy, man. I don't even think about that stuff. Steve, what do you do to protect your clients from cyber attacks?
Very similar to what Carmine does. It's user education. It's across the board, right? So users are kind of the first line of defense. They're the ones that can click the wrong thing. So there's controls you can put on there that are more technology controls, right? We can filter email, we can filter websites, we can do stuff with DNS, do best practices. But the reality is, it's still the end user that can kind of get their way around it. So they have to be aware. And to coin a phrase when I grew up of GI Joe is, knowing is half the battle. It's just the awareness, right? To know that this stuff is possible. I try to stay away from there's this particular thing coming out right now or whatever. I mean, these are just all similar things, right? There's going to be a different virus every day. There's going to be different malware. So we have to be kind of aware of it. But if you're aware in general that they always are going to have an angle. There's always something. If you get that email, you're not quite sure why you're getting this RFP, and you have to click through and do all these things through a Dropbox. Like, that should raise a flag. We can't talk about that particular hack or what they're doing in particular. It's just to be aware of in general. The same as if you're you get a bill from someone that you've never seen. Do you just pay it, or it's got to be that we've got to be aware. You just can't be naive about this, I guess. So I think it's a layered approach on the technology side, the different technologies to protect. But again, those only go so far. Some of the best hackers of our time, they were more social engineering, calling people, trying to trick people, trying to act, and the hacks that I've seen with some of my clients and some prospective clients are, those numbers pop up, your computer's taken over, call this number for support. I mean, people call and it wouldn't be there. It's kind of like you see a rule, like, well, why does that rule? Well, it exists because someone did it, right? So people are going to call these numbers, and they're going to let these people from who knows where connect to their computer. I mean, so it's a lot of common sense, but you can't have common sense if you're not exposed and do a little bit of some education as well, because then that common sense will kick in, and then you have the technological controls, and then work with your IT provider and your partner in that, so that you can, different industries get hit by different things at different times. 2008 with the housing crisis I mentioned earlier, you have a lot of issues with title companies, right? So you kind of can focus on them, but you certainly can't let your guard down anywhere else. It's exhausting. And that's what they count on. I mean, we just get so frustrated and tired of it. And that's when our guard is down is when it's going to happen.
So a lot of it is, from what I'm hearing, besides what you do, it's really on the company side of educating their people to not click that link, so to speak, as simple as that sounds, right? Don't call, if your computer is, and I learned this the hard way working in another place, is when it says that, or your computer has been hacked, I was clicking all kinds of buttons to get out of it, and I just made it worse. And so the IT department had to come over, and they had to back it up to they had to back it up in time by like 2 days to do it. It took them like 2 days to do that, and they started from like day zero or whatever they called it, so they could get out of it, because I clicked the wrong button, and it happened all the time. So until they started to educate us that wasn't a thing, don't click that button. Your computer has been, I think mine said my computer was taken over, or it was there was a virus. So click this link to get rid of it. So what did I do? I clicked the link. So am I dumb? Well, yeah, kind of, but I was really uneducated as to what that was, and it caused a big problem. So
Yeah,
education for the staff is important, right?
yeah, I think that as long as they know, and it's not terrible, maybe, but there's only so much the technology can do. If you are able to download that file and something seems odd, just because the antivirus missed it, I mean, like Carmine, we're always evaluating. It's always changing. There's not one best antivirus. There could be a great antivirus product out there, but it might not be configured right? So, I mean, and it's changing all the time. So you can't just say, well, my email filter left it in. It looks weird, but I'll click it anyways. I mean, it still is going to take some common sense, because there's always a way around something, and there's
Absolutely.
only so much technology that we can put in place. I mean, unless you put everything, and then your costs every month are ridiculous. Your computer's running slow. So it's that partnership.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it is the same thing. I mean, we can have the technical controls in place, but it does take some human um, common sense. Like you wouldn't follow. You shouldn't be following the GPS into the lake. Just because it's telling you to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Use some
Right.
real intelligence, not the artificial kind, right?
Right, for sure.
Both, the latter is the one that doesn't grow in everyone's garden. So that's absolutely true. If listeners remember one thing from today's conversation, what would you like that to be, Carmine?
Oh boy, of course you go to me because I can't. I won't have that sound bite.
Yeah, I'm giving you the opportunity, right? This is soundbite time for Carmine. Steve got this.
I would say if it's one thing, is that it doesn't matter what business you're in, what industry you are, how big your company is. When a hacker finds you, it's not because they know you, because they don't. At the very beginning, they don't know you at all. It's because you're vulnerable. It's because you don't have the right controls in place to stop them from taking a peek inside. And then once they get there, anything is worth money. So, just the one thing is just that everybody is vulnerable, and you really need to evaluate your systems. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's risk evaluation is what it comes down to. You just need to determine where your vulnerabilities are, and then protect the most important things to you.
And how would people get in touch with Underdog Cyber Defense if they had a problem or they wanted to be proactive?
Well, they can find us on LinkedIn or Facebook, or you can give us, go to our website, underdogcyber.com, or you can email me, carmine@underdogcyber.com.
Perfect. Thank you. Steve, what is a takeaway that you'd like people to walk away with today from this conversation?
I would think, I'd hope that, just to be aware, to think about, to slow down, right? A lot of the hacks, are a time. Most of the ones I've seen lately, they will put a pressure on you, and that pressure, a time constraint. Oh, if you pay this invoice today, we'll give you a 10% discount. Those kind of things. When you feel rushed, you start lowering those bars that you have. So I'd say just take your time, be careful, think about it. Because even if you don't think your business is significant, you're significant in one way or another. And it might just be your relationship to other companies, right? So they leverage you, and it might not take money from you, but it will hurt your reputation and your brand. So that's what I would say, is just to be cautious and think things through.
Perfect advice. Perfect advice. And if they wanted to get in touch with you or Soho Integration, how do they do that?
Same, they can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook. Go to our website, soho-integration.com, or you can email me, steve@soho-integration.com.
Very valuable interview today. It was a great conversation with you guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
And this has been Brainstorms and Bottom Lines, and we'll see you next time. Stay gold and peace.